Good morning. Happy January 2026. I am just want to check in and make sure y'all can hear me okay. There's a chat if you want to go on over there. I'm just going to type just to make sure. Okay, great. Thank you, Aurora. It's good to see everybody. I did a last minute post on social media, so there's a few people who are, I think, sliding in. I had this thought as I was preparing. Oh, there's going to be someone here who wants to be here, who is going to need this link in social media. So that kind of weird stuff happens to me all the time. So I kind of shared it very last minute, but I'm glad everybody is here. Welcome to the predictions. And we're going to wait a couple minutes to make sure everybody who finds their way. We like to start it off by having you share where you're from, where you're calling in from. That's always a great way to connect. So would love to see that. Where are you? I'm just going to check on the back end to make sure everybody's found their way over here. Awesome. Great. You made it. Yes, welcome. Hi, Loretta. Hi, Anne. Anne, you might have been one of the ones coming in last minute, yeah? Did you join from the social media post? Hi, Heather. It's good to have everybody here. We'll start momentarily. Sounds like you can hear me okay. I'll speak up. Hillary, welcome. Happy New Year. Great to have you. Hi, Sharon. Happy New Year to you. Awesome. Wonderful. I see Deanna, Diana, a lot of folks. Wonderful. This is a great interactive predictions. I do some announcements, which we'll start with first. Hi, Jordan. Good to see you. Coming in from Cincinnati, Ohio. We have a few: Colorado, Port St. Lucie, Orlando, Sebastian, Florida. A lot of interesting folks from all over. So if you're new to this, we usually start with some announcements, and then we go into the live channeling of the predictions, and I'll talk about that when we get there. And then we do a card pull, which makes the information, I think, a little bit more concrete so that you can see the cards that are coming up as themes for the month of January. And then I take live questions. So, you can be on the fly, you can be, cooking or exercising or managing your children and still be present if you need to. I'm the only one on video feed. I often, however, share with you that this is recorded, and we do share it within our network and to our YouTube station. So just be mindful that when it comes time to ask questions, you're aware of that piece. And I'll give you more instructions about the questions when we get to that section. Hi, Alexandra, Sarah, Darla. All right, Vietnam right now, huh, Katie? That's pretty cool. I think every time I take a blink or an inhale, you are somewhere else in the world. Really cool. So thanks for joining us here today. Okay, so we're going to get started. Welcome to our predictions, and I usually start with some announcements, a few things that are going on. In the calendar for January, we have a few awesome opportunities to participate in our community here. This is a free space. We do trainings for Akashic training in this space as well. And if you want to check that out, you can look in our events section and see the dates for all of the Akashic training for 2026. But we actually have a few events coming up soon. On January 11th, we have, which is I think a week from today, for those of you who are in the Sacred Spaces group, we have a live event with myself and my husband. We're both licensed therapists. He specializes in family and relationships. Of course, I'm on the cosmic side of the world when it comes to psychotherapy with the Akasha, and we're going to do a joint live event on Sunday next week. It's called Sacred Hearth, a return to presence, care, and connection. And it's really about inner peace and relational stillness. So we're going to do some spiritual guided hypnosis, some discussion with the Akasha. He's going to do some work on relationship balancing. So for those of you who want to start the year off with balance and with connection and intentionality in your relationships, this event is for you. You have to be in Sacred Spaces to attend this event. Sacred Spaces is an annual group, and we host monthly events. Sometimes they're live, sometimes they're more therapeutic, sometimes they're more Akashic and spiritual, but with the intention of supporting you and giving you a through line to navigate the world and to navigate your own current emotional sailing. So if you'd like to join that group, you can go over to groups in the Rasta Healing Network and you can join. It's, again, an annual group, and you get access to all the events that are in there. So I just want to mention it because it's coming up next week. It's called Sacred Hearth. I'm excited. This would be, I think, the first live event I've ever done with my husband in the Rasta Healing Network. So that's going to be pretty exciting. We used to, fun fact, run group therapy together at an addiction treatment center where we met, and that was really fun, but we've never done anything live in the network. So I have a lot of Capricorn placements, so I'm sort of happy just trudging alone, but we're like, why haven't we done more things to support people? And I feel like relationships and feeling safe in the world is something that is being called to the table more than ever. And that is why I created this space, because I wanted people to have a safe place to be in community. If you miss it and you still want to be there or join the group, we record them. And we also have an extensive library of other teaching seminars and live events that you can have access to just by being in the group. There's also a WhatsApp chat. So if you want to do that, just check out Sacred Spaces. You can access that there. Also, heads up, if you've taken any Akashic training, on January 15th is our peer-led Akashic group practice, meaning if you've ever taken an Akashic training and you want to continue to practice, we do free monthly Akashic practicing for anyone who's taken any training with me. And that's coming up on the 15th of January at 8 p.m. And the very big exciting news that I want to share with you is I'm doing a brainstorm session for the Alpha State training that's coming soon in the network. And that's going to be also January 15th, but at 6 p.m. So if you are someone who's wanting to increase and expand your intuition, I've been working on a three-week program for that. And I feel like I'm at the place where I really want to talk to people about where they feel stuck around their intuition and the goals they have for themselves around intuition and their practices that they currently do. I want to make sure that what I'm aligning for you is actually responding to your needs. So I'm going to offer a free live brainstorm session just to get your feedback, to share a little bit about the program that's coming. If you attend this session, it's again on the 15th at 6. As soon as this predictions is over, I will put in an event so that you can RSVP. It'll be live, it'll be free to attend. And if you attend, you'll get 15% off if you choose to participate in the Alpha State training. So Alpha State is an intuitive brainwave state where you are most receptive. And just to give you a bit of a background, I train people in Akashic records. And when in module 1, we talk about the alpha state, and some folks are like, would have been helpful to know this in advance, would have been helpful to have access to this information or to be practicing ways to connect to alpha state so that I am more surrendered and more ready to receive for intuition that comes through the Akasha. So this idea was born, again, out of all of my ideas are born out of necessity or the feedback I hear from community. I live in a world of like, the world is a mystical place. So I feel a little bit far away from understanding where people are getting stuck. And so that's why I want to do the town hall brainstorm session. So if you attend, you'll get some feedback and support from me. You get to talk about your intuition, where you feel you're stuck. I'm going to prompt you with some great questions. We're going to do some discussion. We'll do a little meditation where you get some insight from your higher self about your intuition. And truly, I think you'll get a lot of value from that. And honestly, it's going to give me more information about how best to support you moving forward. So again, mark your calendars for the 15th, 6 p.m. Eastern. Alpha State brainstorm session. You do not have to attend the training, the 3-week training. If you attend this brainstorm session, you can still attend the brainstorm session just because. But if you attend and you want to do Alpha State, then you'll get 15% off of that as well. All right, cool. So that feels important to share with you because that's coming up. Also, Akashic Training Module 2 is starting February 12th. So if you've taken Module 1, be on the lookout mid-January for registration for Module 2 starting in February. If you want to know all the dates, you can go to the events section in our Rossi Healing Network. Just click on events and then we have them all listed there, including all the predictions for 2026. Heads up and shout out to Betsy, my admin, who did all of that fantastic detail work on the back end. I appreciate you, Betsy. Okay, I also have news to share about our Akashic research. Some of you know that we are trailblazing the first ever formal mixed method single arm research study looking at the impact of Akashic records on mental health. We have closed the call for participants. We are well into our qualitative analysis, almost completing that. And we've applied to present at the psychology. They accepted my proposal to speak about the clinical relationship between Akashic records and the plane of possibility, which is this super mystical spiritual state of the brain. And I'm going to be talking about that in the summer of 2026 in Virginia at an academic energy psychology conference. Super psyched. And this is hot off the press. Nobody here knows this except for you 41 people who attended here today. We recently got an email from them being conditionally to also present at their research symposium. Yay. So if you heard the word conditional, what that means is that they are expecting us to have all of our study results and data computed by April 30th. So I haven't shared about it openly yet in the social media platforms and channels because I needed to make sure that that feels like a doable achievement. And it will be. Our every intention is to have the data from the study done by April so that we can not only go to the conference in Virginia in the summer and talk about the clinical components of Akashic record and how it helps people, but to actually present all of our data from the study. Our goal with this is to move the needle in mental health, to open the door to speak directly to non-local and consciousness-based modalities as being extremely helpful for mental health. We're super psyched about that. And our goal is to publish that in an academic journal at some point, someday in the future. So yes, very exciting. And, you know, I'm like, pressure's on. Okay, April 30th. We are interviewing quantitative statisticians next week. Give us good vibes to find the right person because we will need to have someone come in and do the math for all the quantitative analysis. So hopefully that's coming. Yes, Vivi, isn't that exciting? And if we get it done, we'll hopefully be presenting the same data to the social work conference if they'll have us in the summer as well. I promise to keep everybody updated on that. Thanks for hanging through the updates. Hopefully they weren't too boring for you, but I feel like you guys have been with me in this process and I want to make sure that I continue to update you on our journey with that. I've been a bit absent from social media because I've been working really hard on the back end, typing boring documents up and analyzing information about our research. It's been 3 years in the making, so quite a lot of effort. We'll keep you posted. Okay, so thanks for sitting through that. Don't forget, January 15th, to join us for the free brainstorm session for Alpha State. I really want to hear where you're stuck with your intuition and how we can support you better. I think you'll get a lot of value and a lot of connection with people. It's rare that I do a live event, by the way, in the network that's free. So take your chance and let's connect and let's hang out. Okay, great. Yes, isn't that wonderful, Hillary? I'm excited. Hopefully, we'll be there in full force in the research. I am calling it to be from the universe. If it shall be, it shall be. Okay, for those of you who are new, the Akashic Field, I like to say, is a 12th dimensional library. It's rooted in quantum physics, this idea that there's living consciousness and living memory fields in this matrix that we are in, that our soul carries this cellular and non-local memory. And when someone opens the Akasha, we connect to that memory field. And we have access to a wider and higher and more expansive awareness, not necessarily insight, although that's great, an awareness of ourselves. We can perceive a wholeness about our experience on earth. That's my favorite part of the Akasha, that people become more aware of power of their connection to self in relation to God, in relation to all things on planet Earth. I do not do the predictions to tell people what to do, more from a place of opening up the energetic field that is arriving, like a weather report. We're going to look at the weather report in January and give you support on how to navigate those conditions. Of course, always follow your intuition. I'm a big fan of self-determination, and that path is always the right path. So when I do an opening of the Akasha in a group setting, we're going to open the Akasha of the collective and of this time space. We're not going to open the record of anyone individually. So when I do the questions, make sure you frame your questions that in a way that would be supportive to other people who are here, that would be applicable, so that all can gain from your question. Hold your questions until we ask for it. Otherwise, they get lost in the chat and I can't find them. So we're going to start with the channeling part. So for those who are new, channeling is really just an opening the door to have a interpretive communication with the Akashic field, which comes through psychic senses. There's a ton of people on this chat who do the same thing, who've been trained in the Akasha, who've been working through the process with us. So shout out to them. Anyone, not just me. And so if you feel called, you can learn more about our training series under Discovery tab in the Rasa Healing Network. I'm going to do a little prayer, which helps me to connect to the field. What I invite you to, particularly because this is the first predictions of the new year, is to take a moment, if you're not driving and you're able to take a few deep breaths and maybe put your hand on your heart and set a couple of intentions for yourself, for what you want to receive today, what you're hoping to observe or notice or receive from this experience. Okay, so why don't you do that while I open the record, and then we're going to start with our channeling piece, and we're going to move over from there to our oracle cards, and then we'll take our questions. Here we go. I am that I am, and therefore I am love, and so are you. We are the point of light in the multiverse. We are children of God. We own all our power, and remembering that we are one. I now direct divine love to the highest frequency for the highest healing and enter the Akashic field. I open the record of the collective, all those consenting, granted permission from the masters, teachers, and loved ones to transform, uncover, transmute, and recover all that is in perfect love. Aho. The record is now open. So I'm experiencing a lot of chatter and symbols and pictures, and I don't share the behind the curtain stuff. I mean, when I'm training people for Akashic training, that's all we do. We talk about behind the curtain. But I'm experiencing a lot of information that's coming in, particularly I hear these words like stay steady, walking or settling in the belly of the beast. And they show me like this forest, and inside of the forest is people who are kind of, there's a tension, they're walking with intention and attention through like, you know how if you take a hike and you're just like, I'm trying to get out of this, or I just want to see the cool destination I'm arriving to, you trip over the roots of trees and the rocks because you're not noticing the present moment. The symbolism that's coming through here initially is to notice and pay attention to your feet, to where you're walking and where you're beginning to walk. And this forest is quiet. There's like a mist and you can hear the birds. It's like dawn, like 5 a.m., and it's peaceful. It's not scary, but you're in the belly of the beast. Like, we're in the thickness of a forest. And this is a very powerful symbolism I'm hearing of like the next few years, particularly astrologically, where there are some tight and energizing outer planet connections, meaning like consciousness shifting, government shifting, system shifting. We're like in the forest of whatever is happening there. And they show me like the chaos of a weather condition in the forest, and yet in the thick of it, where you are, where you walk, where you're noticing your feet, you still have a path and you can keep your steady ground, and you don't trip or feel unsafe if you are paying attention and have intention. So there is this nod to that here, where we are beginning our year, which I hear them say in almost every cultural tradition. The new year does not start in January. You know, we're still supposed to be in caves and cocoons in the winter. And our sort of culture in the West is like, it's a new year, step into all the things. And if you're not feeling ready for that, I hear the Akasha saying, good for you. Trust that. Be led by the drive, be led by your feet, be led by your heart. Don't be led by the drive or the social constructs that force you to be something other than what is true for you. There is more. Thank you. We are initiating into major awareness in January. Thank you. There was a breakdown and an opening in December, some opportunities for forgiveness, some opportunities for deep resting. Relationally, I hear relationship themes are still going to be present in January. And we have an opportunity here to really at what is a good use of our power. And we are going to have agency to move with momentum in January. It's almost like I hear the unavoidable action, the unavoidable awareness, the unavoidable insight. So we're talking insight, like what I know to be true, and awareness of like the larger picture. Very interesting. The scope feels available. Insight, which is the scope of the moment, and awareness is like the scope of this pattern, right? And so they show me like in January, we're going to have that particularly. They're giving me a date now. So around the 18th of the month is the new moon in Capricorn, which apparently is conjunct like everything, all the inner planets. And so there is like a synchronicity, and there's a threshold and a reconfiguration. It's like the point of no return, meaning if you are like in the dark and you are like, I'm trying to grab something and I'm not sure what it is, or I'm working through a deconstruction, or I'm trying to move forward on X, Y, or Z, come middle of January, the Akasha sees that and the new moon in Capricorn as much more of an initiation of our New Year's resolutions than where we are now. So if you have already done a New Year's resolution, or that's part of your practice, I hear reconnecting to some of that in the middle of the month, you might find a lot more insight. I personally feel like I'm rushed into that in the beginning of the year. I'm like not ready for it. So if you're feeling like that too, thank you. I hear them say, find sacred sitting in the forest, find a tree stump. They go back to this scene where you're walking through a foggy forest. No, you're not scared. You're just like, your journey is valuable. It's not just about the destination or moving through the forest. And thank you. I hear there are resources, there are fruits, there are families. So when I hear families, I think about connections. I think about people that love you and relationships. You're going to find a lot of this in January through intentionality and sacred space having. So middle of month, have some sacred space, cultivate sacred sitting, connect with people. You know, I think about trees and their sharing of roots and the families of trees. I keep hearing families, families, families. We talked a lot about ancestral clearing in December. What's coming up here is almost like, yes, a family biologically, but like your family, your soul family, which feels like your mission. It feels like your people, maybe they're not related to you. It feels like your personal power, your ability to connect to what feels authentic to you. You know, you being present with yourself is important middle of the month. Is there more? Yes. Thank you. Okay. So they show me January 7th and 9th. There is like a Sun, Venus, Mars conjunction. And it feels almost like they show me like three little rodents running under a carpet and they're moving around together. And you're like, you know, like, what is it? And it's not enough to, you know, topple you, but there is a movement under the surface. There's cahoots are happening. Cahoots are happening. Is that even a real phrase? I don't know. But there's going to be some key relationship developments in January and a shift in our desires. We want to look at people. Thank you. I want to make this more concrete. Let's look at people and shifting relationships at the beginning of January. Come mid-month, you're going to definitely be setting clear intentions. You're going to see what matters. You are going to be at a threshold of knowing, of the insight of the present moment, and of the awareness of the pattern mid-January. And the best way to cultivate that is through sacred intention and attention, okay, in the forest in which you walk. You might hear a bear in the distance. You might hear an explosion in the distance. If you look around, by the way, they said in the forest, you just might see more thick forest. We're in the belly of the beast. There's a collective energy around us that's shifting. You may not have access to that information. They said it would be unwise. So this is very classic Akasha, very symbolic. They said it would be unwise to run scared in the thick of the forest from something you hear that is not visible to you, that is not known to you, and that is not in your clear vicinity. It would be unwise to run or respond reactively to anything that you are experiencing that you can't hear, see, or is not in the vicinity of you. I hear them say, what's the point of that? What's the point of that? And they show me someone running in the forest, panicking, and then tripping over of course, the rocks and the roots of the trees. And they feel alone. They're not connecting to their purpose and their intent and the relationships, and they're not in the present moment most of all. So it feels a bit, and I know there's world news happening. So my sense of this, and I'm just going to check in. I hear them saying yes already before I ask the question. My sense of this is there's going to be things going on in the world. There are going to continue to be things going on. You have to show up where your feet are. You cannot be anywhere other than where your feet are. As soon as you begin to be somewhere where your feet are not, you are tripping, you are missing, and you are not in alignment. And they said, certainly if something is in your vicinity to see, like if you are confronted with a change that needs to be made, then be present with that. But I hear much more, we're likely to struggle with like the boogeyman under the bed when that's an unnecessary energy. Thank you. Biggest astrology other than this powerful new moon in the middle of the month for January is January 26th. You can mark your calendar. Neptune goes into Aries. Neptune is a 14-year cycle-ish, and it's been retrograding back into Pisces. A lot of us have had an intuition experience, a revisiting, a last hurrah around our intuition, our dreams, our visions. Anybody else here having crazy dreams like recently? All of that's connected to Neptune Pisces, but we are moving away from that. We are truly really entering the new era. We've had a taste of it earlier on last year, but we are moving in now. So what does that mean? I hear them, you must be aware of your spiritual power. You must be aware of what is real and what is not. You must be consistent with your feet. They said Neptune in Aries needs to have good footing. Think about the warrior who shoots a knife into the forest, like, I'm going to get you. And they're like shooting it into the, the bushes. And it's just like a bird. It's not a real threat, right? But if you think about the warrior, I think about Asian warriors where they have like their blindfold. I think Karate Kid, they do this, right? And you're working from your intuition. You're working from your senses. Your power comes from your intuition, your senses. This is why I want to do alpha state, right? Because I want people to connect to this personal power. There's going to be a lot of people that are in public spaces who are going to tell you about what your power is, or tell you how to not, how to follow the path. And the reality is that you are the path. Your own intuition is the path. You have to, Mr. Miyagi is putting on your higher self is putting on the blindfold, and you must act with power from intuition. This is Neptune Aries. This is a righteous sense of true leadership with your intuition. Okay. And if you feel shaky on that, then engage in practices that amplify connection to heart center, connection to source, connection to nature, so that you can listen and hear. I hear, shadow aspect of Neptune Aries, a shadow, like a place we don't want to go. And I hear them say, all of you who are here today will notice this in someone else, because it is also part of the coin. We don't just get like the powerful intuitive warrior, the leader of intuition, the one who does right, by their emotional body. We're going to get the other side of that, which is righteous blind leaders. We're going to get righteous, arrogant, impulsive, illusionists who have perspectives that are too foggy. And there's a reason why they show us this forest with fog. If you look forward, you don't see anything, and you can make stuff up. And that's the shadow of Neptune and Aries. But if you have your head down and you're like, where are my feet? Where am I going? Let me sit with this tree. You are present with the intuitive warrior within. Don't listen to what goes bump in the night. Listen to your heart. Listen to your path. The path is available. I hear the Akasha say that some of you are panicking. How do I know which way to go? What do you mean the path? This is too symbolic. And they said, look, if you look down in your life right now, wherever we are, and we look down in our life and we say, where do I see a path that is open and clear? Where does it feel desirable and peacemaking to go? Then that is the way the powerful spiritual warrior, which is the quintessential high frequency of Neptune Aries. We want to see the path in our life that is open, where the doors are free, where we feel lightness and peace and inspiration or desire. And we want to go in that direction. We want to walk towards that. And when we do that, we are owning our agency, our sovereignty, and our personal peace. And that is the power. Now, there's a temptation to be like, noise in the fog, throw the spear, right? But then what's happening? What's happening in that? We're not on our legs. We're not attending to the terrain. And I keep hearing you're missing the fruit that's on the trees, and you're missing the gnome that could be a good guide, and you're missing, the tree that you could sleep perfectly in a hammock. So we want to access the resources available. There may be some fogginess, there may be some fear. And I feel this is more of an annual reading, like this part of the session, where like through the year we might feel some of this, but the power is in the present moment. The power is in your feet. So first half of the month, a lot of structural, a lot of clarity, a lot of seeing. Second half of the month, we're going to start new chapters. We got a lot of planets entering Aquarius. We have Sun, Mercury, Mars, a lot of Aquarius energy after this new moon coming in. And so what is that? That's like, right? That's like seeing things a new way, experiencing some sort of personal authenticity. So I wrote down a little inspiration list, and then we'll go to the cards. And then I have a couple of journal questions I want to share with you, which are often helpful. And if someone can hear when I do the journal questions and put them in the chat, so if those who can't write them down quick enough can go and use them, that would be awesome. So here's the inspiration that shows up for me around January. So caves and cocoons, dirty feet, people you love, relationship roots. So roots, so looking for where the roots are taking you, looking for where the connections are. Self-care, sacred self-care. Remember in the forest, we got to find what feels good. I wrote down mohawks, right? Like radicalness. I wrote down like this energy of Aquarius, like authenticity, like what feels like truly you. And that might be like a very powerful reflection, right? My children love Wicked, so defying gravity. I think about gravity as like the expected like heaviness that we have to experience in our dense forms. And when you defy gravity, you believe in all possibilities. So let January be something where you like believe in all possibilities. You let yourself connect to known and wants to be seen, which I think will happen around the middle of the month with the new moon in Capricorn on the 18th. This is Chiron is also direct, so that's great. You know, Chiron's the wounded healer. He's now moving forward, so we have more clarity. So there's more about like agency. We're having a sense of agency, a sense of action or agency after we've had our insight and our awareness. That feels like inspiration for January. A zooming out, a seeing the larger picture. We've already talked about that. Momentum, air energy. There's still a lot of energy, even though there's Earth and a lot of Capricorn. I still feel like there's so many conjunctions. There's so many planets that are hanging out together in January. I feel like we're going to experience momentum and movement. And then bridges. Bridges is a great theme from the old to the new. So here are some journal questions to anchor, and then I'm going to pull some cards because these concepts can be very out there. And I know for a human brain, right? Like even me, you know, it's like, does this make sense? Or how do I apply this? That's like where the brain goes. But I invite you all to still stay really soft in receiving this information. You can always go back and re-listen because we record it as well. So you can go back and re-listen. So stay soft, but here are the journal questions, and then we'll do the cards, which I think will help things make more sense before we go to questions. Okay, so your first journal question is, where does my truth belong in the family of things? Where does my truth belong in the family of things? So I like to think about the family of things as like, given my conditions, given all the connections I have, my work relationships, my intimate relationships, my relationship with my body, given where I am in the family of things, where does my truth belong? Where can I speak up? What is true for me? How can I be more authentic? Yeah. The second one, and thank you, Jordan, for this. How can I step into the power of my intuition? How can I step into the power of my intuition? Power is an Aries word. Intuition is a Neptune word. So we're kind of pulling us to this like spiritual warrior energy that's available. How can I step into the power of my intuition? And the third question I love, what matters the most to me now? What matters the most to me now? Man, that's like a really pointed question, right? What matters the most to me now? I keep hearing the Akasha say, do not respond to the bump in the night through the fog for which you cannot see. Focus on the present moment. There is agency in January. There is action available in January. There is movement in January. There are new things to see. Do not be distracted by what is happening globally or collectively. And they go on to, and if you are interested in learning more about this, I don't get any plugs, by the way, I don't get any kickbacks. But You Matter More Than You Think by Karen O'Brien. I'm like a huge fan of this book. If you know me at all, you probably know this. It's about quantum social change and the idea that your own energetic response in a moment has an impact on the collective government or the collective global moment is a really powerful concept. And that book describes more of it. And it's not that you, in the Akasha saying, it's not that you shouldn't participate in global change. There's just availability because of heavy Capricorn, which is a mountain goat climbing from cliff to cliff alone. That is the Capricorn symbolism. There's something about individual sovereignty in January that's really available. So for this coming month, keep it micro, keep it you focused, right? And I keep feeling like we're going to be called to be distracted, particularly at the end of January or early February, from collective happenings. And let's keep the focus on you, because when your footing is sure and your authenticity is clear and you know what matters most to you, your action in the world will be much more on the high frequency side of Neptune Aries than the shadow aspect. So what I mean by that is more alignment with your intuition as a powerful intuitive actor and leader versus the blind panicked warrior who sees mirages. Okay, you're going to be better for everyone in your family, in the world, in your job when you have sure footing. That is a Capricorn phrase if I've ever heard one, right? Okay, how's this feeling? Let's do the cards and we'll go from there. Love that you guys were doing the questions. Thank you. I am pulling from the Autumn Sky deck, gifted to me by Sarah Martin. Thank you so much. I think if you're still here, I just want to shout out and say thank you. Beautiful artist, a lot of powerful images in this deck. I like to pull them in advance and just kind of meditate on them. So we're going to let them come forward. If you've never seen a 4-card reading, I think it's super helpful. It just brings the information to be more concrete in January for the predictions. And the first card is the situation. So this is the first card and it's called Devotion. I love images in Oracle. I feel like they're totally underutilized in terms of intuition. She has her hand on the pen and her other hand is in surrender, yeah? And the pen that she's holding is creating an entire universe. And she's not doing that with effort. She's doing that with surrender, okay? So this card is about taking joy. Let me read it up here. Taking joy in the process. Creativity is meditation. Having intention in every action, which reminds me of the forest that the Akasha was talking about, and doing what feeds your soul, doing what feels good, making sure that you have patience. Though we're in the belly of the forest, we're not supposed to be like, where are we going and what's that noise and what do bears do and will it be a tiger, and like, you can't solve all of those problems. You don't have all of those answers. You're here to be devoted to the process. So this is the theme. The situation. First card of the card reading is always the situation. This idea of how can we take joy and be devoted in our process in the present moment, okay? That feels really aligned for what we talked about earlier. The second card in the reading is the block, okay? So the block is divine masculine. Divine masculine. So what does that mean? Well, the divine masculine card is about, let me hold it up so you can see it, being a peaceful warrior, having integrity in all actions, stepping into compassionate leadership, finding freedom with forgiveness. Your focus and patience will cultivate positive change. Your love is your strength. I mean, can we all sniff this out? What's of a peaceful warrior with integrity and compassion? What's the opposite of that, right? We're talking shadow Neptune Aries. This is the block. We want to be careful that we're not doing two things: arrogance, blind leadership, okay, or total avoidance of our personal power. We need to examine our personal will. Thank you. I heard the Akasha saying also possibly there could be a masculine or male figure in your life, or a masculine version of yourself that is being unclaimed, or that is not participating with highest integrity. But that would be an alternative, more specific interpretation if you experience like struggles with like the masculine part of your personality or a particular relationship, like a boss or a husband or a partner. But I really feel like this is us making sure that we are operating from a peaceful place, and we're having integrity, and we're being compassionate. We're not showing like erratic, kind of cold, lack of present moment energy. So this is the block. So in the season of go with the flow and practicing our patience and being devoted to the journey, we need to watch out for, either powerlessness within ourselves or aggressive male energy or masculine energy, either in ourselves or the world around us. Don't let that tempt you to be out of your own sacred divine masculine. So the solution to that block is the purity card, the purity card. If you see this, she is the temple herself, and she is connected to the sky and the earth. Nothing outside of her has more power than her relationship with connection. I see this card as sanctuary. I see this as like, and in the back it says create sacred space. Your body is your temple. Honor your inner dwelling spirit. Shine your authentic light. Meditate. Like, this is, what do we do about the struggles with our divine masculine energy, or the collective masculine that's aggressive? What do we do about that? Well, we're in the forest. We're devoting to this process. Something's being created. We're not quite sure. We have to be present, but we have to also surrender a larger part of ourselves. And to do that, we need to be in sacred ceremony. So when I think about this, I think about like silent sitting, developing a silent sitting practice, or a new, like an oracle practice or a meditation practice. I've been starting to work with the runes lately, and I have a practice each morning that I've been working with there. And consistency and routine equals safety, people, right? Safety. And I know as humans, we seek clarity, and I don't know that full clarity is available, but I think there's a lot of clarity in January, probably even more than December, and definitely even more than November. But in order to hear that, to feel that, and to navigate what we might be triggered by here, we want to create an inner relationship with our own sacred source energy. Whatever divinity practice you have, prayer, nature walking, swimming in the ocean, pulling cards, reading crystals, doing tarot, connecting with astrology. I don't care what it is. The Akasha's like, we don't know. God is in everything. God is in everything. We can't tell them how best to navigate to God, for God is within them. God is source. This comes back to Neptune, Aries. I keep feeling, they show me a bridge, and they're like, you cross the bridge. They're saying, cross the bridge. Don't live in a space where you feel like your power is outside of you, where you feel other people have the power to make you afraid, to make you know what to do or what not to do. Cross the bridge to the place where you trust your inner power. You trust your connection to source. You trust the vines of the roots that are under your feet, and the apple and the resources that are above your head from the leaves. Trust what is present. And to do that, we have to connect. This is the solution. Okay, so if you're like, what do I do in January? It is this. And however, when you look at this picture, I want you to, and this is part of intuition as well, I look at this picture and I immediately feel what? It inspires me to do what? Oh gosh, I have to do that reverse because of the camera angle. But when I see this picture, it inspires me to be or do what? I want you to sit with that, and you can go back and watch the recording, but that is like the essence of what you want to trust. And then, of course, the solution or the outcome of all of January, if played well, if played with intention, divine feminine card. It's kind of rare to have divine masculine and divine feminine in the same oracle reading. So this is a balancing of energies. And how fitting, given that there's like, let's see, what is it? The sun and Mars and Venus, all in the conjunction. We have masculine, feminine interplay all month, okay? But the outcome here is an embracing of your sensitivity, of your divine mother within you. It's an embracing of your empathy, your forgiveness, your ability to reclaim an inner sovereignty and a groundedness. There's this sense of, I am worthy of love and grace is my power. I am worthy of love and grace is my power. I follow the beat of my heart. Okay. I am worthy of love. Grace is my power. I follow the beat of my heart. This is the goal. All right. Like, she's steady. She is steady. All right. She's got an unwavering look of consistency, connection, and trust. And this is the outcome. So let me put it together for you. In a month where we are looking at taking some joy in a process, there's an action and a surrender we have, and a sense of not knowing, but we are going to practice our patience. This is a situation. We want to be careful for a lack of power, a powerlessness, or an over kind of arrogant shadow Neptune Aries energy. We want to make sure we are bringing in peaceful power, compassionate leadership. We're looking at being in a state of love, not in a state of war, okay? And the way to do that is by cultivating a personal connection with spirit. We are the inner sanctuary. And if we do that, the outcome is an unwavering sense of personal sovereignty as the great mother, where we can take care of ourselves, we can take care of other people. Yeah, thank you for putting that quote up there, Sarah, so that folks have it. We want to balance the feminine and masculine energy. We might need to be balancing those parts of ourselves. We might need to be balancing that in our relationships. I think relationships are definitely going to be on the docket for January. So yeah, that's what we got. How's it feeling? This is the time where we take questions. I'm going to take a moment to sit with the Akasha and make sure I've received everything and interpreted everything that they are wanting to impart today. And perhaps while I do that, pose some questions. I'm seeing some people put some things in the comments now, so feel free to do that. I'll go down the list. And usually the questions are the juiciest part of these predictions, because it starts to get very conversational and very practical. So definitely stay for that if you're new for this. Just give me a moment to take a sip of coffee here. Thank you for joining me so early in the morning as well. I know some of you are not on East Coast time, so I appreciate that. Okay. Thump, thump. All right. Nice. Gina, as a collective, what are some practices we could do to embrace our own gifts and be open to celebrating our wins? I feel this shy away to talk about or celebrate my own wins, almost feeling deeply that whether I am too much or worry about the jealousy from others. Logically, I know I deserve it. However, in my body, I don't fully feel it. Yeah, so we received that. And I feel like this is a common experience. It's about our own degree of comfort with power. And I feel like we're being called to lean into that with, right, that's this, Gina. This is the fear of being in the leadership role here, and possibly struggling based on your expression of this and how others may perceive it, or feeling unworthy, right? Isn't there and the outcome here is like this idea of being worthy of love, being worthy of power. So it is a combination of both energetics, and what's coming up here around this on how to embrace that is, thank you, I hear focus not on power itself, but focus on the heart and its desire to contribute and its desire to be in joy. And when the heart is contributing and in joy and in the flow, there is no need to label or perceive the experience itself. Meaning others may not understand, others may have opinions about it, and you may have opinions about it, but that would be a consciousness outside of the heart. It would be a consciousness in the ego. We would be traveling to this like more fragile place. So they said, if you feel fragile, and they go back to the forest, if you feel like you hear the thing in the woods, you're like, oh, I don't know. And in your case, is it okay to be holding all these great fruits and have all these winds on my back? And people might be judging. They're peeking at me through the leaves. If we feel fragile, it's not that we probably will feel fragile in January. We must lean into this. It is like, so the consciousness is moving to the ego, or moving to the not self, or moving to the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle says. We want to bring consciousness back to source, where we can say, all that I am is love. I participate with contribution. I participate from my heart and with joy, which means I'm in my full power. And it's as if you don't even notice what other people perceive about that, because their perception is their responsibility. You don't have a responsibility to another person's perception. You have a responsibility to your heart center and serving the mission of your soul. Yeah? Aho. And if you are on wobbly legs of that, you're like, I know it, but it's hard to do. We need to connect to sacred ceremony, sacred practice. More. I hear that they go back to what happened in December. They said, Gina, in December, weren't there some people that were supposed to get off your bus? I don't remember this, but I guess there was a bit about relationships and people getting on and off your bus of relationships. And, sometimes people will move away from you. They will move away. And the Akasha says, fine, right? More room on the bus for new souls, but your consciousness can't be in that state, because then we're in fragile state. Then we're in like not self, and our choices then will be either to mask our own personal power and love, or to judge and harm others. We just need to be in our space of, where are your feet in your contribution? Yeah, I hope that's helpful. All right, next question. Can the Akasha help reconcile boundaries with social media during a time like this? Great question. I keep wanting to delete it for a period of time for a break, but some part of me worries I'll be naively unaware of what's happening if I completely shut it off. Thank you, Melanie. I've been struggling with this myself. I'm like, if I didn't have a business, I'd be off social media, and then I'm not even posting for the business. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing now. It's all going to go under because I'm not present in the world. But I struggle with this personally. And the Akasha says you need to have really a strong sense of your own intuitive awareness and intuitive sturdiness if you're going to engage in media. And even if you are going to engage in media and you feel sturdy, you still need to have really good boundaries. I hear not before bed. And not when you wake up in the morning. I hear them say, when you're sitting on the toilet, you can check your social media. That's what I hear the Akasha saying. They're like, it's a movement. There's a movement of energy in that. They show me like, make sure that you have quiet inspiration time during the day. This is so interesting. They said, here are the elements of the conditions of which our relationship to media are ideal. Okay, so they're going to give us some to-dos. Do not use social media in the morning or at night. If you can, use it a lot when you're on the bathroom toilet. I hear, be sure that you curate your social media fields and threads to high frequency experiences. And here's how you know it is high frequency. Anything that instills a sense of fear or powerlessness in you needs to be blocked or shielded. Or what is the thing? Unfollow, hide, go into a cocoon, don't see me. I don't know, whatever the things are, but they said powerlessness and fear-based marketing are toxic to the energy field. They drain you. It pulls out your chi and life force. Now, if you are in a fragile state, like Gina was talking about this thing where sometimes she's worrying if she's worthy. And she gave a great example to something that we all experience in some form, this sense of wobbly legs. If you feel like you're in a state of wobbly legs, social media is not for you right now. They said, focus on sacred sanctuary, focus on your own personal power of leadership, physical exercise, Marsy type activities where you're sweating and you feel powerful would help boost up your chi. But I hear when you're on wobbly legs, don't go. Thank you. I also hear you must every day have, as opposed to just silent sitting and silent connection to source, some kind of inspiration time. Right? What kind of inspiration time might you have? So I think about that as like your mind's wandering, you're taking a walk outside, you're reading a book, and then you pause and you're like, I'm wondering this, I'm wondering that. Like, we have to have communion with source, everybody. If we're not having communion with source, you turn on social media and they're like, this is what you should believe. This is who you are. This is what you need to do. Watch out for this. The world's going to end. It's like, and then we like, you know, we're like, we're barely functioning after that. So these are the conditions. It's really interesting too, because I've been very curious about the, you know, what it means to create like sovereign leadership, compassionate leadership, where you honor the sovereignty of others. And I actually pulled an excerpt for you guys today from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, and I wanted to read it. And I feel like it fits in here with Melanie's question, and it's about teaching. Or following teachers. And I feel like social media is an example of that. Everybody's a guru. Everybody knows more than you. Fear and panic and drama are what sells the likes and so those things are in a more massive form on social media. You have to unfollow those things. And you have to have good thank you, social media hygiene, and to know when you're on wobbly legs. They said also the EMF, right? You want to pay attention to that you have like, you're giving yourself nature time. You're not just like on devices, because then again, this degrades your connection to source. You feel overstimulated. Your pineal gland is like, I can't sleep. All I see is blue light, you know? But I'm going to read this excerpt that I picked for you again from the book, The Prophet. It's called On Teaching or Following Teachers. Then then said a teacher, speak to us of teaching or following. And he said, no man or woman can reveal to you aught but that which already lies half asleep in the dawning of your own knowledge. The teacher who walks in the shadow of the temple amongst his or her followers gives not of their wisdom, but rather of their faith and their lovingness. If the teacher is indeed wise, the teacher does not bid you to enter the house of their wisdom, but rather leads you to the threshold of your own mind. And there's more, but I have been inspired by this as a guiding light of my work, because I know this work has an oracle-ish vibe. Here's what you do with your life, individually or collectively, and I don't want to participate in continuing to feed a hierarchical relationship with the divine, but to foster collective connection to source, which is why I teach people how to read their own Akashic field. But social media can be like a false idol. It can be like a teacher of source. And we have fragmented parts of our energy field that are susceptible. So you also need to know that, like, where are you super wobbly? Is it on the collective government stuff? Are you super wobbly when it comes to your relationship? Are you wobbly when it comes to your physical health? If you have feeds and people on your social media that speak to your weakness, your fragileness, there's a degrading and an energy sucking coming out of that. So you do need to know thyself. And I can't remember all the steps they shared with us on how to have good social media etiquette, but maybe someone will figure that out and they'll put it in the comments, or you can go watch the replay. But they don't, I guess to your point, like, should you be off of it entirely? They said it depends on the person. For me, I want to stay present as a source of doing it my way, that I feel is more balanced. Now, is that going to mean I'm global? No, it's probably not, because that's not what sells, right? But I feel like I still want to contribute to a paradigm that I value on social media. So you'll have to think about all those things and make a good decision. Great question. Ivana, the questions are great and this all resonates. This feels really powerful, this energetic. And so is there a way to access the parts of us that are ready to move through this and can help to soothe the nervous system and stay present and focus on one foot in front of the other? It feels very much like doing less and feeling more. You know, I feel like it's slow motion, Ivana. So I would say slow motion, right? So I think about the goat, and we're going to talk about goat because Capricorn energy, right? There's a lot of Capricorn energy up until the new moon on the 18th. And we have like, and that new moon again is conjunct like everything. So it is a powerful, powerful Capricorn moon, middle of month. The goat, in order for it to land on a higher icy cliff, it must have precision. It must have vision. And most importantly, it must have confidence in itself. So we want to bring those things, confidence, precision, focus. And that's why the Akasha led with, and I never know where they're going to start, but it's a great analogy with this idea of like in the fogginess, we must have our feet on the floor. And the image that keeps replaying over and over is if you're not paying attention to your feet, you're going to trip over a rock or a root. And then they said, and does the world end when you trip and fall on your face? They said, no, but you get a little bit of a boo-boo, and then you have to be more tender. And then perhaps you're called to be more attentive and intentional. It's not like the world's not over. The universe will say, pay attention. The universe will say, pay attention. I guess that's the shadow part of January too. Like if you're getting some course corrects and you're falling down, you need to notice that and be more attentive. So maybe slow motion, slowing down, do things slower, be more attentive, be more embodied. I hear them say a great way to practice this is this is great strategy. I hear them say when you do it one way, you can do it anyway. I hear them say, they said, eat a silent, slow meal where you don't talk. You're not on social media. You're not multitasking. You take like an hour to eat a meal orgasmically. They said, really great practice. This is kind of like the practice of one step at a time. Yeah. Hopefully that helps. They said they said nervous system responds to that, right? Because we're not speeding up. We're not trying to run through the forest. No one's chasing us. Now, we could perceive someone's chasing us if we get into that shadow aspect of like the warrior in the woods who's scared of the bump in the night. We don't want to go there. I think that is a tempting place to go in January, particularly because our socialization is like, it's January, new year, new things, all the resolutions, everyone get to the gym, like it just feels like they're pushing us along. And we don't have to participate in that. We don't have to participate. Okay, Susan, the state of our country and the world. Woo, yeah, that's a big one. How do we stay present with the craziness in the world and still be present on a personal level? I feel like I should try to help make the world a better place, and it's overwhelming. Susan, I love your question. You got to read this book. You matter more than you think. Quantum social change for a thriving world. The Akasha gives an answer to this a lot of people don't like often, and the answer to this is you change the world by changing yourself, by being an embodiment of love, of sovereign leadership and forgiveness, and powerful nurturing presence. They said people in the world who are struggling need the Sacred Mother more than ever, and if you do January right, we will all have a greater download of the sacred divine mother that we all need. They said the mother forgives, the mother teaches, the mother is wise. These elements and qualities heal the world. We are in the belly of the beast. We are in the thickness of the fog in the forest. We can't see where we're going, but we are going somewhere. And there will be noises in the night, and there will be changes and things happening. And they said, you must remember that you are sovereign. You are a being independent from the victimization of the collective, and your relationship with participation in the wounds of the world is needed. We're all needed now. And the version of you that shows up to that best is when these two archetypes are in balance. These two archetypes. And if you are finding a wounded warrior, a vengeful warrior, a reckless warrior, a one who hates, the divine masculine itself, then you must be in presence with yourself in order to find balance so that the energetic that you become is contributing to the world you want to see. And they said, we've shared this before, but perspectives don't matter as much as energy. And that feels, again, I feel like they're like, throw the tomatoes at us. I'm like, don't kill the messenger, don't kill me. But they're saying, the perspectives don't matter as much as energy. Your energy needs to embody more of the sacred mother. And through that, mothers teach, they correct, they guide, they support, they handle conflicts, they show the world the way that it should be. And so there's agency here for that. I feel very strongly from a predictions perspective. What's coming up for me as a channel in this moment is that January is about self. Once we enter, after we enter this new moon on the 18th, usually the end of the month, man, I feel like February, I can already feel the flames, the air energy and the fire of conviction coming through, the rebel and the Uranian energy already coming through I can feel it in February, but January is about self. I feel like there's a fortification available of self. We need January. We need to be in harmony here with ourselves, masculine and feminine, so that we can be available for our communities and for the world in the coming months of 2026 and beyond. Be selfish this month. Make sure you take sovereign, sacred space, purity. This card's called purity. Purify your energy field so that you can be available. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Hi, Katie. Okay, thank you so much for you and Akasha's 12th dimensional review of January. Beautiful, thank you. I'd love to ask if there's a way to welcome in visions, inspiration, or dreams for the future that are not linked or coherently linked to the past or present. Instead, opening up to that divine plane of possibility for sure. She's asking about this. I love it. Yes. So this energy, how can we call in divine source energy that's not linked to the past, that's not linked to influence by our social media or by our ancestry or by our neighbors? How do we call in divine inspiration? I hear stillness. I hear discovering wonder. I hear go play in the forest and go play in your life and imagine what is reaching out to you to be known. Thank you. They show me like a mantra or an intention that you would walk the earth with in January. Here for it, even though you don't know what it is. And they show me like this really is an attitude of curiosity. It's an attitude of trusted inspiration. You're trusting inspiration is coming, and you are welcoming in new. And I hear that quiet inspiration time is a really good feedback for January on this topic, but also on many other topics that people have asked, particularly like how can we welcome in that which is new if we are not curious? We're welcoming in past or lower density information. How to know? They said, let's answer that. Well, they said, number one, it's familiar. That's not entirely the case, because a lot of times the inspirations we have can be familiar, but there's a familiarity that feels heavy, that feels hard. We might also feel like our heart's desire is not really in it. So we want to pay attention, okay? That we aren't, our heart's desire is like feeling like, yes, I'm interested in this. When we're feeling like I'm interested in this and we're feeling like it's an unfamiliar or new inspired idea, it's typically not of the karmic past. And I hear play, investigation. They said investigation sounds, they're giving me a redirect, sounds very detective-like and concrete, but we really feel like play and divine curiosity are the behaviors by which you would show up in January to have new inspiration. And the mantra or the idea is that you're holding your palm out for some unknown thing to shake. Like, I'm here for the magic. I put my palm out to shake hands with the magic in January, show it to me. And then they said, let it go to God after that. Like, these are practices that connect you to alpha state, to intuitive state. We have to let go, and we have to trust, and we have to be observant. And they said, if you have stillness practice every day, then you're going to receive that. But make sure you color the awareness. Remember, we talked about insight, and the awareness is the umbrella. To have awareness, we want to make sure we're spending time paying attention to that. We're saying, I want this, or I'm connecting to this, and I'm not sure what it is, but I'm here for it. And then we're going to be going throughout our day, and we're going to be having like stillness time, curiosity time, play time, so that awareness can enter, so that we can see it. I also hear that your intention to be part of a new leaf, just your intention alone makes it so. You don't have to fight yourself. You don't have to worry about your past chasing you. Pasts don't chase people. People chase pasts. People grab the past and put them in their pockets and brush their teeth with it and drink it and put the coat on and button it up. Pasts don't chase people. People chase pasts. If your intention is to leave it there, it is so, particularly if curiosity and play and openness are available to you. We hope that helps. Okay, is there anything to be mentioned about yesterday's full moon? Yeah, there's definitely a lot to be mentioned. I didn't mention it because we are in the past of that. We're in the past of that, so I didn't mention it. But yes, I had sensation of being in a big portal, a shift. It felt much more new moon energy to me. Yeah, the full moon in Cancer was truly about like emotional relationships and our like what matters to us. It felt a bit like the idea of like what matters is going to be such a theme, right? In this month. And it started off with more emotional, what emotionally matters to us, what our relationships, how they matter to us. And the Akasha was saying that this was on the heels of the Chiron direct. So there's this sense of like, we now have like a healing, and we might, and some of you might notice this at the end of December up until today. I think today's probably feeling better for most of us, but from the end of December, like through Christmas till today, there could have been a blip of a wound that arises or that arised. And that wound is connected to the heart, and it connected to some kind of feeling of unworthiness or woundedness because Chiron was active. So the full moon in Cancer, a very water sign, a very home sign, right on the heels of this Chiron direct, would have opened a portal for us to kind of clear or wash our wounds. I think about a warrior that's kind of bloody, and you take off all of the armor, and it's only, sometimes it's not a really deep wound, but it produces a lot of mess, and you need to be purified. You need to be cleansed. I think, if you're feeling the heat of a wound, I personally experienced that at the end of the year, cooling, salty, nature connection practices, all very good for that. It's really about emotionally what matters to you. That was where the full moon was taking us. Very, very powerful clearing, washing the warrior's wounds, bringing the warrior home from battle. That's the Chiron moving forward into Cancer, coming back to home, coming back to the heart. Okay, great. I'm so glad that the social media thing was helpful. I know, I love that book too, Kathia. You guys got great questions. We're on a roll. There are many times in social media that feels like they are siphoning my energy source. They do. It sounds so evil. I want to make sure I'm trying to see everything as neutral, but it can't, it's not, some of it's not intentionally neutral. So yeah. Okay. The name of the book is You Matter More Than You Think by Karen O'Brien. It's about quantum social change. It's about how individual energetic change contributes to global change. Okay, I'm sensing that there are many souls that are leaving this 3D world. That's true. Is there any insight from the Akasha that could touch on this? What we transition into for the next step of our evolution, and what energies these new souls bring into the world? Yeah, that's a giant question. You know, I hear them say portals are portals are portals, or exit points are exit points are exit points. They show me like collections of astrology, collections of initiations around astrology, and people starting new. There was a huge dawn, right, at the end of December. I think we're all a little dizzy from that. I think that that's where you have the deconstruction, the ancestral clearing. There's a lot going on at the end of December. And a lot of people use that time to come in and out. And so they agree with that. I'm going to make sure I answer each question. What is a transition into for the next step of evolution, and what energies are these new souls bringing into the world? Okay. I hear that there are souls on the planet who are embodying now, and I hear that it doesn't matter how old you are. Some of them, all of us, you know, we're present with spirituality. We're present with connection to source. We are personally invested in self-growth and evolution. So we're being upgraded. You know, like your phone is like, must complete an upgrade. Please restart me in 2 minutes. That's what's happening to all of us. If you're awake and you are connected, then you are experiencing upgrades. And so new souls are entering and they're creating more energy, and the rest of us kind of, you know, experience that upgrade as well. It is not just new children or new people coming in. We are all part of a constant upgrade. Can human free will resist upgrade, resist transmutation, resist change? You all know the answer to that. Of course they can. And then what happens? More suffering. We see that on a practical level, like in mental health therapy. We see that in relationships when something is, you overstay something that needs to atrophy. But, you know, evolution is constantly happening. I think humans our biggest struggle is the acceptance and the permission of that evolutionary process. So the Akasha says, of course, there's upgrades happening. And attitudes towards separation are coming. We're going to rebel separation. We're going to be wiser than that. We're not going to bite the hook of the fisherman that says, hate this person, it's good for you, do it. We're going to be like, yeah, I don't really agree with that person, but a hate is worse, because energy matters more than perspective. So we are smarter already for that, but not all people will be smart. And that sounds like a judgment. So I want to just be mindful that I'm not creating judgment. No, they said that's a fact. We're all going to have different consciousness and different spaces. It doesn't mean you're better. It just means you need to be awake and aware of the process and not get sucked in. So the new energy is going to be more rebellious to the draw for separation. They aren't going to bite that. They're going to be more aware. They're going to embody more of a sacred mother. I always think about January predictions as a precursor to the year, even though it's about January in Holy. This is a very powerful outcome. This is a very positive outcome, okay? Divine feminine energy, right? You are worthy of love. Your grace is your power. They said you don't need to know anything more about what's coming on the planet than that, those 2 words. Everything else you hear or see is a deconstruction and a reconstruction towards this end. And what is your role in that? What is your role in that? And better question, who do you need to be to put you into your highest version of you to contribute? What do you need to do, and how can you show up to put you into the highest version of your unique expression of the Divine Mother, which is the teacher, the way shower, the nurturer, the lover, the healer, right? How can you get to that? That is what is coming. And there will be temptation of not that. There will be, this is the block position. There will be the angry warrior masculine. There will be the powerless. I am powerless. I have no power in this world. There will be, the subjugation by the leaders who are not the compassionate leaders. We have to watch this trap in ourselves and in others. Okay, powerful. Hillary, great question. What the Akasha is sharing for making collective change is very similar to the basic ideas of, yes, Jungian psychology. Bring the personal unconscious to conscious, yes, and develop and integrate the inner feminine and masculine that is present within everyone. Has nothing to do with gender. So validating. Yeah, what comes in today, there are ripples and intuitive messages that have existed across time space. I find it unique today that there is such a strong awareness between masculine and feminine, which very much adheres to Jungian psychology. But this is a code, right? What we're talking about today is a code, is an energetic that's available through this channel, through this moment, through this event, and also through many other forms and many other rivers that are also coming through. And so, if you're connected to this, you're going to receive it in a repetitive way. Okay. Oh wow, I didn't realize that about Chiron. Those are the exact conversations I was having yesterday and rewriting those stories. Okay, great. Oh, you just ordered it. Great, Aurora. I think that would be a helpful book for you, just knowing your connection to social change. This could give you a new perspective. Okay, hey Ray, how can we best awaken this year? I hear through stillness, through play, through curiosity, through following the white rabbit, and to our own, we have to find our own connection to intuition and our own connection to source. We have to make this stuff conscious. We have to be present with that sovereign inner leadership. Okay, great. Any practices that would be helpful that we haven't mentioned from Ray? We're going to take that question. Then we're going to be wrapping up in the next few minutes. So this is your last chance to ask any other questions that if you have them while I sit with this question here. I'm just going to take a moment. Anything we haven't shared overall that feels important in any practices? Thank you. I hear the Akasha say, why don't you invite them to close their own eyes and take a deep breath with their hands on their own hearts and ask their higher self, what practice is the most nourishing practice I can do for myself right now? What practice is the most nourishing practice I can do for myself right now? And they show me us taking a deep breath. And on the exhale, like shooting that question up through our channel and letting it go like a prayer flag that flies in the wind, or like a giant funnel, and we're just going to wait for the information to drop, right? What practice is the most nourishing practice for me right now? And when you get a hint, an idea, a gut stirring, an image, trust it and say, thank you. Is there more? Great. I'm hearing from them that they would like us to share the nourishing practices that came forward if you did this mini exercise with us in the comments, so that we can see what others have come up with and use that as inspiration and pepper that into our month. So this, if you haven't already, we would love to hear you share in the chat. I'll share mine. I heard when I asked that question, just sit on my porch and do daily divinity. Sit on my porch. Sometimes I pull a card really quick in the morning and I'm not as intentional, but they want me to be outside on my porch. So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you, Deanna, for sharing yours. I'd love for each of you to share what came forward. What is the most nourishing practice? Instead of sharing your takeaway from the session today, I mean, you can do that, certainly. I'm not going to stop you, but let's aim for like sharing what was the most nourishing practice that came up for you. If you got a lot of answers, that's fine. If you got an answer and then you're judging yourself and criticizing yourself, we are stuck here in our own personal leadership and our own sort of masculine energetic of trusting And we want to spend more quiet time so we can hear the messages. I'm reminding you, if you've arrived late, January 15th, I'm doing a free live event in the platform. It's called Alpha State Training Brainstorming, and it's just going to be a collective discussion on what you think you need to help improve your own relationship with source and intuition. This is for a future training I'll be doing. It'll be a live experiential group. There'll be some discussion. There'll be some value that we're giving through a guided meditation to your higher self. I want to hear more from you about your experience with intuition and what feels like it gets in the way. And that's something I've heard a lot from people who take Akashic training. We wish we had better practices around these things before taking Akashic training. So I'm going to be sharing and opening that up in the new year. But I'm not quite done with the development, and I had strong intuition that I needed to connect with some of you about that. So if you attend the free event on the 15th, you'll get 15% off when the course finally launches. There's no requirement to take the alpha training, but show up to the brainstorm session and hang out with us and give us your feedback and talk to me about your relationship with intuition. I want to help. So right now we're closing out by everybody sharing what came up for them on their intuition. Lots of really great answers here. Beautiful. Oh, these are great answers. Look at this. All of you have all the answers, don't you? Look at these great answers. And so it is, and so it shall be. Very exciting. Any other shares from today's predictions, perhaps whatever came up for you through our activity or your takeaway? Much love to you, Federica. Good to see you here. I'm glad to see you. We had such a great turnout today, even though it's so early in the morning. I appreciate you spending and sharing your energy with me. These predictions wouldn't be what they are without that. I'm super grateful to be a steward of this work in the world. And I usually, through the Akasha, my passion and my mission is to help connect people with their own source energy and to help them feel this oneness energy that is so beautiful, that we all have access to, that everyone deserves to feel. So I'm grateful to be part of that and continue to steward that in the world in many ways. I hope to see you in January. We have a few events coming up in January. Go to our events. You can see the event for the live event I'm doing next Sunday with my partner, and Akashic group practices this month. And of course, we'll be doing our Alpha State brainstorm session. Have a really wonderful month in January. Let me know how it's going. Make sure that you keep us posting a bunch of new things moving forward. I have some help with Kathia. Thank you so much, Kathia, for helping to repurpose some of these videos. Oh, I forgot to mention, I did share an AI version, not version, but AI summary of the predictions from last time. And we'll be doing that again this month so that you guys can have a recap. And it was a really wonderful recap. So thank you shout out to Ray for showing me some really cool tools to use to help synthesize our information, just so that we can bring the content that's happening here to more people. I need to be better at that. I kind of just do it and then I disappear into my work. So thank you to Kathia for helping me with that. Thank you for Ray for showing me some new cool AI tools that we could basically pop our predictions video in, and then they will produce an entire summary for us. So I'll be sharing all of that with you this month so that you can revisit these themes and stay intimate with them. I'm wishing you lots of love and lots of peace and lots of power and lots of deep connection to you and your authenticity this month. And make sure you join me next month in February. You can follow me on social media. I promise to share only high frequency things. It's Rasa Healing on Instagram and Facebook, and sending you all off with in a beautiful day today. Take care.